You are listening to the Billy Dees podcast.
We are waiting just a minute for everyone to engage the live stream. Remember, you can find the Billy Dees podcast on your favorite platform.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. If you are new here, we wait just a moment, not a long time, but just a moment for everyone to refresh their app or whatever it is that they are using. And then we roll. So we're about 1 minute and 14 seconds in. Let's go ahead and start the show. Thank you. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Billy Dees podcast. As always, I am absolutely thrilled that you are here. If you've never checked us out before, we are primarily an interview and a commentary-based podcast. Today, we're live on X, and we're doing commentary, and with me is the lovely and the esteemed Cynthia Elliott.
More like fear, and I don't know how to steam. Hi, Billy. It's good to see you.
It's awesome to have you on the program. A lot going on today because, well, not just, today in the macro sense, these times with the issue of free speech. We're going to talk about that. We've talked about it actually quite a bit on this program. And so with that being said, let me check a setting. I'm going to check a setting real quick. While I'm talking, though, it's a big debate.
Is it really a big debate? Because it was a big debate during the election because we'd all sort of lost our freedom of speech for a few years.
Yes, but a lot of people are slicing and dicing this in regard to Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jimmy Kimmel is just the latest one. Stephen Colbert was another one that touched this debate off. But a lot of this started too in the wake of the horrible murder of Charlie Kirk with the online celebrations that took place. And I get people telling me, I have yet to see one. Well, then you don't know how to navigate the internet, because these online celebrations were everywhere.
Yeah, they were.
And it wasn't just a few isolated ones. I'm talking, I couldn't pick a number, but I'm sure it's in the tens of thousands. And from what I understand, they are investigating this, and I'll talk a little bit as to why. Let's start with Jimmy Kimmel, who, next to Stephen Colbert is probably one of the people I detest the most. Okay. Not personally. I wish him no ill will. And then, there's a big distinction here between how people like myself talk and the radicals out there, the radicals on both sides. I don't wish anybody any ill will just because I disagree with them. But I detest what these individuals stand up for and how they present facts. I absolutely detest them.
They play journalist without actually being or acting like a real journalist.
To set the tone for this, I want to play this clip for you right here. Let's take a listen to this. This is just a few seconds long. Take a listen to this.
Do you get sensitive about the fact that people say he'll never take a serious controversy?
Well, I have an answer to that. I said, now, tell me the last time that Jack Benny, Red Skelton, Benny comedian, used his show to do serious issues. That's not what I'm there for. Can't they see that?
But you're not...
Why do they think that just because you have a Tonight Show that you must deal in serious issues? That's a danger. It's a real danger. Once you start that, you start to get that self-important feeling that what you say has great import. And strangely enough, you could use that show as a forum. You could sway people. And I don't think you should as an entertainer.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Johnny Carson from many, many years ago. That is a distinction. And quite frankly, Elvis said the same thing. When you have the ability to, and I'm not speaking for them, I'm paraphrasing here. When you have the ability to just sway people's emotions, when you have the ability, whether it's an entertainment show, whether it's the music that you do, you wield a power. You wield a power of influence. And that has to be considered very deeply when these people get on their high horse and exert a influence over people that they themselves may not fully understand, and that's giving them the benefit of the doubt. Some of them know that they are full of shit, and they use their power and influence to manage public opinion.
Mhm.
And now this, we're not talking about free speech here. This is something that is ethical, not necessarily legal. This is a discussion that has to do with ethics.
Yeah.
Let's start there. What's
Yeah.
your
So, first of all, if Jimmy Kimmel wanted to deal in topics like that, which are political, and they are sharing his political opinion, then he should have changed his show to the Jimmy Kimmel Political Commentary Show. But it's supposedly labeled entertainment, and I think when you are dealing with the public, that your job is, well, first of all, if you're calling yourself a comedian, an entertainer, that's really what you're supposed to do. But lecturing people as though people are effing idiots and trying to tell people what choices that they should make for themselves, and then emotionally blackmailing them if you don't agree with their choices, is disgusting. And this kind of behavior has been going on for years. When you go back to the closures, the lecturing, the condescending, the asking for people to be fired, to lose their jobs, not to get health care in hospitals. I mean, this is Jimmy Kimmel telling people all these things. He was really on this bandwagon with a bunch of other celebrities who decided that they knew better than human beings knew about their own body or what they believed themselves. And I want you to think about that. They were literally trying to emotionally blackmail people into getting what were, and we now know, were experimental shots, which have now been shown to have to damage people. And they just didn't stop there. It was like they were so high on themselves and their own opinion that they couldn't let go of the power that they were experiencing by being in that position. And it's been disturbing to watch as a communications professional. And I'll have to share in a second. I want to share a story with you, which I think will really drive home how long this has been going on.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm showing the some of the class that Jimmy Kimmel has shown.
Yeah. Oh my God. And none of these, I mean, let's be honest, all the talk shows are just trash. They've been trash for years. They're not funny. They're not entertaining. The hosts are boring. They're too political, but they're not on a political show. They're on an entertainment show. But I have to share this story really quick because I was thinking about this morning. About 16 or 17 years ago, I was at the Sundance Film Festival, and I was there for 10 days, and I did it every year for years. And so I knew a lot of people, and it was a big, it's all Hollywood. It's all stars and James Woods, and I wasn't going to name him, but it's out there anyway. James Woods came, and I remember how profoundly disturbed I was by all the conversations that were going on and the pressure that was even being applied to me not to help, support, talk to, because he's a Republican. Like, this was from the time he got there until the time he left, the dominant conversation and the treatment that he received was so appalling to me. I couldn't believe what I was like, wow, you guys are all running around telling everybody else that they can't help, support, or do anything for this man because of his political decisions. And it made me realize how much media, and I knew this from a journalism standpoint, I knew media was really being utilized in terrible ways, but I really began to understand the pressure going on in Hollywood to speak to one very particular narrative and one particular idea of the way we should live in this country. And that's not what Hollywood was built for.
No, it wasn't. Let's talk about the incident itself with Jimmy Kimmel. Let's back up a little bit here. It's one thing to say something in terms of media. I mean, the actual media, whether it be broadcast, internet, or what have you. Broadcast is in kind of its own little category because broadcast uses the airwaves. Okay. And the airwaves belong to the people. Acting as our agent, the federal government leases this public property, this stage, to a select group of tenants who profit from its use. on the condition they serve the common good. That is, in a nutshell, with the FCC, when you're talking about terrestrial broadcast, that is airwaves, terra meaning earth, airwaves that travel through the air over the surface of the earth. Okay. And in this case, when it's in the United States, the public domain, that public domain is managed by the federal government, which is, of course, financed through tax dollars. So you have an obligation to serve the common good, which means entertaining, information, all this other stuff, no matter what kind of content it is, has to basically cover the common good. Now, this doesn't mean that every single person you have to make happy all the time. That's not what it is. But this here is an outright lie. And let's listen to this.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views.
Okay, now this is coming from the person who says we should respect government so much when it comes to vaccinations, saying that all these governmental officials, whether it be FBI, whether it be the governor of Utah, all these people are just making this stuff up, that this guy was a MAGA radical.
Oh, he's clearly a political shill for somebody. There's the Democratic Party or some of the people running the show there have got to be telling him what angle to take. I would be stunned if that wasn't the case.
Okay. The bottom line here, though, is Jimmy Kimmel misrepresented. Nobody here, nobody at this point. I mean, and that's the thing. You follow the facts, and the facts right now surrounding this suspect, whether it be his family, his friends, his associations, his behavior online, the horrible things he wrote on the bullet casings, the bulge or whatever that is. That's in reference to women who have a bulge, and you know what that means. The idea that these were MAGA principles is absolutely ridiculous so far. And you know what? If the facts change, that's fine, because people, I'll speak for myself, people like me follow the facts. If this was a Christian white male, I would be up here saying this was a Christian white mother effer. Okay, that the truth should not need to be hidden, sheltered, whatever. So getting back to the common good, what you could say here is that those remarks by Jimmy Kimmel swayed people, which at this point are you can't bring them back. The damage has been done. No matter how much you discredit what Jimmy Kimmel just said, he influenced God knows how many people to think something opposite from what the facts are. And
because we need liberals with more fear driving their choices, because that's what that is. When the way he did that, the lie he told and blaming MAGA, he's basically pointing a gun at them and saying, this is what the MAGA is doing to you. Now behave the way we want you to. Like, that's just my personal opinion. But he's clearly, if he knew how to do his job, and we used to actually have this in American media. We actually used to have journalists and TV hosts whose job it was to present the facts and present points on both sides and let you make up your mind. But that's not what he's doing here. He's literally ignoring what we actually know to be fact and saying something to stoke fear within his base.
Yes. And this is not serving the common good.
No.
There's no wiggle room on this. He's using public airwaves, and for the people who want the truth, for the people who do support right-leaning politicians, for whatever reason, their tax dollars fund the forum that he is on. And you cannot slap them in the face that many times when it comes to the FCC. Now, to be clear, this really in and of and by itself is not a free speech issue. Jimmy Kimmel is not being silenced. He is not being, put away somewhere where he can never speak again. All that's happened here is his current forum on ABC has been suspended. And it's not, there's economics involved in this as well, because behind the scenes, when a lot of very powerful companies who are advertising on ABC, especially on the Jimmy Kimmel show, saw this, they said, we don't want our advertising dollars being spent in this manner, so we're pulling out. So his ratings were almost a secondary issue, whether they were good or bad, because he had violated FCC regulations. He had violated that trust that we haven't given him by letting him use the public airwaves, and he lost his supporters, the people that financed the program. So this here again, this isn't some governmental thing, like some dark vision of the future where you say something against the government and you disappear. That isn't what happened here.
Yeah.
And if he's truly, and we could debate his ratings, if you go by the 18 to 49 demographic, all the late night talk shows are in the basement.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know social media people that get better ratings for a clip than Jimmy Kimmel's been getting for the last 5 years.
The number I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not. Now, this is 18 to 49. 18 to 49, he got about 125,000 viewers, which is dog shit. If that number is true, but that's the number that keeps coming up.
Heck, I've got videos with that many views.
Now, if you go into older demographics, now that's where they get really high. And if you get over the age of 67, these guys still have respectable ratings. But this is where, and there's not that there's anything wrong with older people. I'm heading in that direction. I'm a lot closer to the
You're Gen X.
Yeah, I'm Gen X. I'm getting I'm just at the point in my life where I'm a lot closer to the end than I am the beginning. And it's probably influencing me in a bad way, because I got to tell you, every once in a while somebody makes me really mad. And what's in the back of my mind is, sentence to life in prison is not that much of a threat at this point. So
you're so funny.
Yeah. But anyway, getting back to this situation, there's nothing wrong with the Geritol crowd. I think they're a great group of people. Okay.
And I actually honestly think it's habitual for them. I think they're turning it on, and I frankly am not sure if they're actually really listening. It's more like background noise.
Yeah. When you're talking about baby boomers, they've been conditioned, they put on their slippers and they, get into bed and they watch the local news and they listen to the weather and all that explanation of stuff. And all they have to do is say, hey, tomorrow it's probably going to rain. And it's going to be 67 degrees. That's all you really need to hear. But you go through all the satellite imagery and then all the things about the pollen and all the little weeds that are in your lawn and all this other, and they listen to all that bullshit. And then they turn, and as part of their going to sleep procedure, they're winding down for the day.
Yeah.
They listen to these three people, by the way, that are indistinguishable. I was listening to Jimmy Fallon. And he actually said something that was objectively funny. He said, yes, we're, it's a sad day. I got about 100 texts today talking about Jimmy Kimmel, and everybody was so sad, including my own parents, that I lost my show. He said,
oh, that's funny.
He goes, no, it's not me. But the fact of the matter is not only do these guys look similar, they do exactly the same show.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're literally they're like an arm of the Democratic Party. They've all been pushing the Democratic narrative for years. I have to say, Billy, the whole thing with Charlie Kirk and then Jimmy Kimmel, like the Democratic Party, like I am not sure just how far down the toilet they have to go before they actually sit back and go, you know what? What we're doing is not working, because the number of people that I saw putting out videos saying I'm absolutely humiliated to be a Democrat. I mean, the countless videos of people saying I can't do it anymore. Like I cannot identify as Democrat. I'm too embarrassed by the behavior. the disgusting videos. Has to be some special form of mental illness, because they keep making the same they keep pushing the people that have supported them, that are moderate, or lean towards conservative. They just keep pushing them away, and every decision they make, like what they've been doing for the last week,
Yes.
is so stupid.
Yes.
They've literally just going to, what are they going to not exist in a couple of years if they keep up at this rating? I mean, they could have stepped up after Charlie Kirk happened, and been graceful, been
Mhm.
elegant, extended the hand, come together as a nation, and it could have helped restabilize their party. But they are so constantly being negative that they can't stop. It's like they have rabies or
Yes.
something.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. They absolutely do. They absolutely do have rabies, and I'm not going to accept the what's the word I'm looking for? The outrage. That's the outrage. They're the outrage group from the left, talking about free speech. Who are they kidding?
Yeah, I know.
After a decade of absolute woke insanity, they're just
Telling people how they could speak, what words they could use. I mean, are they for real? They've literally been lecturing Americans and making laws and rules that tell you that you can't say what you think, and trying to convince the entire country that a man can get pregnant and have a miscarriage now. I
yeah.
mean, like,
And if you say otherwise, you lose your job. That is canceling somebody. That is hurting them.
yeah.
Okay. What happened to Jimmy Kimmel? If he's really as popular as everybody says he is,
Which
and
he's
there's all
not.
okay, but let's say he is, there's nothing stopping him from doing what Glenn Beck did. There's nothing stopping him from doing what Tucker Carlson is doing.
Mhm.
That all of these individuals had their problems with broadcast media, and they landed better than what they were before. So if Jimmy Kimmel is really that popular and really such an urgent voice that we need, he can join me right here. He
Right.
can join me right here. There's absolutely nothing stopping him from doing it. And he will have a lot more reign when he is not beholden to a group of advertisers or beholden to FCC regulations. He can say whatever brilliance that he can possibly come up with, and we can be treated to more of this. This is the idea of entertainment that the left will condone when it's supposedly one of their own. Okay, imagine if there was a video like that coming out of, let's say, what Trump doing that. Imagine the outrage that there would be. Spare me this moral high ground about free speech from the left.
Oh, I know.
The witch hunts, the microaggressions, and here's where I'm going to get into a little bit about the celebrations of what happened to Charlie Kirk, which were sickening.
Yeah.
The,
Disturbing.
the left will take a tweet that somebody did in grade school 10, 15 years ago. And now they're, in their 20s or approaching 30 or whatever the math comes out to be. And they're running for Congress or they're running for some seat in government, or they're doing something. And somebody finds this tweet from 15 years ago and wants to cancel this individual.
And they did it to plenty of people.
Okay, this is the left. These are the people that are now crybabying about free speech because of Jimmy effing Kimmel. You can kiss my ass. And here's the thing with getting back to the celebrations. I'm a free speech absolutist. I absolutely am. And I'm going to say that free speech, by most legal scholars, will tell you, does cover hate speech. So if somebody wants to come on, the airwaves or the whatever, stand in the public forum and say, I hate Billy Dees. I hate him. I hate his guts. And I'm sure a lot of people do.
Is it Glenn Beck? Who was it that blocked you that one
Oh
time?
no, that was Keith Olbermann.
Keith
Yeah,
Olbermann, yeah, he hates you.
famously blocked. I don't know if I might have the image here. Let me see if I have the image.
You know,
Oh,
I
here
have
you
to
go.
say,
Here you go.
is this the Glenn Beck
Yeah,
blocking?
no, yeah. Keith Olbermann. So
Oh,
needless
did
to
you offend him?
Yes, I did. And actually, we were talking about this very topic. I did a podcast about a year or so ago where I did a commentary about why the Democrats were on their way to lose the election and had nothing to do with partisanship. Okay. From a marketing standpoint, they weren't cultivating a candidate and they weren't cultivating a message. That was the essence. And during the commentary that I did, I got into some talk about free speech. And Keith, that episode hit big. I mean, hundreds of thousands of views. I don't remember what it was, 500,000 impressions, something like that. It was an extraordinary number, and I caught the attention of a lot of national figures, and Keith Olbermann was one of them. And he did not like the fact that I said that hate speech was covered by free speech. He said, "No, it's not," and I said, "Yes, it
Yeah,
is."
it is. Yeah, it is.
Yes,
You
it
know,
is. Because what is hate speech? Speech that you don't like.
yeah.
Hate speech is what some people they hate they hate the speech. So
Oh.
therefore it's hate speech.
You
And
know,
and that was a reasonable reply.
yeah, 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 I read it. It was a reasonable reply. He was just super sensitive, but isn't that the hallmark?
and he and here again, this wasn't a whole very active thread because of this big episode. I didn't really follow the whole thing, but because of that, he blocked me. So,
You
yes.
Yeah, yeah. I had to
Go
say
ahead.
something that I think is really important. The behavior of the liberals, and I know this is not all Democrats. And I was a Democrat at one point, and still believe in a lot of the things that they used to believe in. They have got to stop gaslighting their people, their followers.
Yeah.
It not only is it turning off a lot more of their followers, but it's causing a lot of the alarming behavior, the assassinations that we've seen this last year. It's the constant gaslighting and fear mongering that is causing these violent incidents to happen. And say that again. It is what's happening, but it's not just them. The gaslighting across mass media, as well as some of the, I actually like Candace. I'm going to go totally blank
Candace,
on it. Can,
Candace Owens?
Candace, I like Candace Owens
Yeah.
and I like Tucker Carlson, but they're all doing the gaslighting.
Yeah.
They're all doing the thing where, it's like, oh, this is popular right now. Let me just beat it to death. And some of the claims, like, and I really do, I like Candace, and God bless her, good for her that she's managed to be able to be successful on her own. But I feel like a lot of it is just, it's just gaslighting the public. And we need harmony, and we need peace, and we're just not going to get there if we're bombarded constantly.
Yeah. What I was getting to with the celebratory things about the assassination, what shocked me was I remember Reagan getting shot, and I'm sure there were people who said, "Yeah, I'm glad it happened." I'm sure it happened.
Mhm.
I'm sure there were people who celebrated when MLK got shot. I'm sure there were people who celebrated when JFK got shot, but it wasn't in the public square. It was maybe in the local bar, a bunch of rednecks or whatever, and you do without him. The public display of what happened with Charlie Kirk, the absolute by thousands upon thousands, and we're not talking about a few fringe kooks. We're talking about thousands.
Yeah.
It was sickening. But as a free speech absolutist, I gotta say, most of it's got. I don't like it, but it's something that's probably going to have to fly. But there's some exceptions. And this is another area that people don't quite understand about free speech. You got to be very careful about wishing harm on somebody, even though you're not saying you're doing it yourself. Or let's say you're you're an influencer. You have 2 million followers. Okay. And I was actually very disappointed in somebody I had on the program who's got millions of followers. She was on the program about something else a couple of years ago. She went viral for wishing something bad to happen to the president, and she doubled down on it.
course she did,
Now here's
because she was getting attention.
yes.
And by the way, I have to say this really quick before I forget. They are using this whole thing with Jimmy Kimmel to try to distract from the abhorrent behavior that was exhibited by many of their party
Oh,
members
absolutely.
after Charlie Kirk. That's what they're doing. They were all like, "Oh no, we've made a huge mistake. Okay, let's use the Jimmy Kimmel and the free speech bullshit again."
Yes. When you are an influencer, that word means something, influence. And when you have millions of followers, when you celebrate or wish harm on somebody and one of your followers is inspired to go out and make you happy by making your dreams come true, so to speak, that is different territory. And a lot of these people on social media were listing what I don't like Charlie Kirk because of A, B, and C. Excuse me. And when you do that, you paint a target on everybody who stands for A, B, and C. You are saying, in essence, the world is better off without people doing A, B, and C. And now you're on very thin ice in terms of what the free speech provisions will do for you. Okay, because if something should happen,
You incited them.
yes, and if a prosecutor and investigators, would say that you could really draw a distinct line from your online behavior, I mean, being the perpetrator, from the perpetrator's behavior, it can draw a direct line to a certain influencer. And this influencer was advocating for the world to be a better place without these people and cheering on the people that died that supported those things. And this person went out and committed a horrible act. Not only would you be canceled, but there's a good chance you could find yourself criminally prosecuted.
Yeah. Yeah, and frankly, I think we may need to see a few of those cases to get this to people to step back, because the number of videos that I've seen where people are talking about Charlie Kirk and they absolutely, it's so clear that they heard somebody else say it and that they've not actually done any investigation. Like the amount of deceptive content that is out there has actually been disturbing me, particularly this last year, because we're in the attention economy and people will say and do anything, including lying and knowingly lying, which is one of my issues with a lot of the media.
Yeah.
It's not helping our situation for everyone to be gaslighting each other.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. So as we summarize this, excuse me again, as we summarize this, with free speech, I'm a free speech absolutist. Okay, I and that includes hate speech. I hate you, whatever. That's fine. It's not fine, but you get what I say. In terms of free speech, I don't think that you should be silenced by the government for saying that you hate someone else or any of that type of stuff. It's one thing to express dislike. It is another thing to express dislike on the public airwaves.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is certainly another thing to objectively lie or distort the facts on the public airwaves. You can get away with some of that under free speech provisions. The government won't bother you, but you can get away with that standing on the corner. You can get away with that, in certain online media where that's not being broadcast. You can get away with some of that. But the restrictions are tighter when you're talking about public airwaves. And away from government, you have to consider where the money comes from that keeps those shows on the air, because they're very expensive to produce. That money comes from advertisers. And if advertisers say, wait a minute, we're not supporting that. We're giving you millions of dollars to make people happy and can keep watching TV and feel good about buying our products. We're not giving you money to lie and all these other things and incorrectly sway public opinion. That's not what we want. So we're taking our advertising dollars away. That is not a free speech violation. The government had nothing to do with that. That is show business. And I think that is something that a lot of entertainers forget.
But I honestly, Billy, I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're just incorrect with what they think. I honestly believe they don't care
Yeah.
what the truth is. I mean, watching Obama and Clinton post that garbage crap today about the free speech thing, I was like, oh, could you two just go away? Haven't you
Yeah.
done enough damage? Now you're gaslighting your people with the free speech BS because you want to like make up for the fact that they acted I mean, it was demonic. A lot of the videos that I
Yeah.
saw after Charlie Kirk died, there was a woman who, did you see the video of the woman who went to her kids and said, guess what?
Yes, I did.
And she married to a National Guardsman, and she's a teacher, which brings me to one more thing. Then, and I this don't quote me on this, but I did read this today that the job that is the most consistent job for the people who've been doing this behavior is a teacher slash professor, which doesn't
Yes.
really surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me, and that's what she does.
That's the problem with academia, is especially when you get into the college level, a lot of these professors and everything have never really run a business.
And they never really worked.
No, yeah, they either they went to school on scholarships, or their mommy and daddy paid the bill to go to school, and then they worked in academia and in studies and for other institutions that are funded either by tax dollars or for grants. And by the way, there was a time when I defended very much the nonprofit sector, and I champion still a lot of nonprofits. I think they're great, but it has become a bastion. It has become a vehicle to promote political ideologies within the community. It absolutely has.
Yeah.
Sorry, it absolutely has.
Oh yeah, I mean, just look at the radicalization of our young people has come from mass media, from Hollywood media, and from the schools, which had just went off the rails. Some of the things I was hearing that they were doing, like the gender, like trans, giving them medications and talking to them about like gender and in kindergarten. I mean, that all of that is all tied together, and it was all about this agenda, which I don't know. I can't understand. I've never really been able to understand what that agenda is about, other than weakening this country or humanity.
Yeah. So getting into, where I was going with this is these professors and these individuals, and they're producing people right out of college who went to school, listened to these people, and now these teachers feel emboldened. They have never dug a ditch in their life. They didn't work on the street crew like I did. Okay, they go straight from the classroom where they have this worldly professor talk about all this bullshit, and they go into the classroom and they start doing that to 6-year-old kids. And I gotta say, for the most part, I defend teachers because
Yeah, me too.
teachers these days, they have to be social workers, they have to be counselors, they have to be all these other things, because the parent structure, the family structure has broken down to such a degree that these kids come into the classroom very troubled. And I understand, and quite frankly, it's a thankless job, and quite frankly,
Mhm.
there's way too much politics in teaching, but a lot of that they brought on themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what people forget. Okay, so I empathize a lot of times with teachers who find themselves in political situations with the parents and the school boards and everything else. But when they act online the way they do, and the way they tell kids some of the stuff that's been told to kids about this Charlie Kirk thing, I can't imagine what world an adult would tell a child that this was a good thing and actually show the videos.
Well, that's what I said. I keep going back to that. There's got to be something in addition to Trump derangement syndrome. It cannot be anything other than a mental illness of some kind. And I am not making fun
I
of
think
mental
you're being
illness.
gracious. I think these people are sinister individuals.
Yeah, it's demonic, which is why I'm like, okay, either they're possessed by demons to try to tell a child to celebrate Charlie Kirk dying, and you're a teacher in a school. It's insanity. But the number of people who thought this was okay behavior, I mean, we may not have been that smart 50 years ago, but I remember, when Reagan was shot and the country came together. I mean, not that, Charlie Kirk's not the president of the United States, but it
Right,
was a
sure.
shocking collective moment.
Yes.
And the distortion that is required to justify celebrating the murder of any father or even just a human being in this country in front of students is insanity. And that's why I know some well-known psychiatrist or psychologist has got to write a book
Yeah.
and come up with a new diagnosis for the DSM.
Yes. It's an interesting time.
Mhm.
Well, we always wrap up the show with talking about what we are doing. So, Cynthia,
Yes.
tell us about what you are doing.
Well, I've got the new issue of Soul Tech magazine, which just came out. It's the healing issue. I've got the TEDx Meisner, which is part of the TEDx speaking series happening in February, and I'm doing a huge health expo with a bunch of women for about women's health early next year. So a lot of exciting stuff. If you want to stay on top of it, go to shamanisis.com and sign up for the newsletter, and you'll get all sorts of free articles and of course invitations to events.
That is absolutely fantastic. My name is Billy Dees. The Billy Dees podcast is available on all the major podcast platforms. We have a 10-year history. And the last month or so, we're experiencing, for whatever, some of the highest listen rates that we've had. And you got to keep in mind, we like social media. I like X. I like all those. I like the video casts that we're doing here. But the vast majority of our listens are on the audio platforms like, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, all those. So if you want to subscribe to the Billy Dees podcast on your favorite platform, I want you to know that there's no paywalls here. Okay, so if you have an iPhone, you have Apple Podcasts. If you probably have a music thing, the Spotify and all that. The Billy Dees podcast is on there. You can subscribe to the Billy Dees podcast with no paywalls. We do not charge listeners for anything. There's no additional content. There's no back rooms with extra content and behind the scenes content that you got to pay for and all that BS. We don't do that to our listeners. Okay. So we do other things, but listeners don't have to pay. That isn't what we do. And we're producers, of course. We produce a number of different podcasts. We do a lot of audio work. We do a lot of video editing. We do all that kind of stuff. That's our wheelhouse, actually charging for work. Our listeners do not have to do anything or pay anything to listen to the podcast. Now, you can find me on X, like I mentioned. That's kind of like my social media home. It has become very friendly to all types of media, not just social media. And we are taking advantage of that. And the video casts have become very popular, especially the replays as the days go on after the podcast is finished. It does very well on X. So yes, we're very happy about that. We'll take as many listens as we can get. But don't forget to subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting platform. All right, Cynthia, thank you so much for hanging out with me today and talking about, I'll show it one more time. There, look at that. Isn't that just cute? Haven't you ever seen anything as cute as that?
Oh my God.
And that is, I was a comedian and for a number of years. And this was years ago. This was probably like 20 years ago. And I did some edgy stuff. And I think you can get away with a lot being a comedian under the guise of, it's supposed to be funny, or you're parodying something or something of that nature. In my worst day, I don't know if what we're talking about here, what I've been showing was a setup or whether it was planned or what it is. But the idea that it would be funny to treat a woman that way, even before we have the culture that we do today with wokeness and all this, I would never have done that.
Yeah.
That's not something I would have done.
That's the cheap tricks of somebody who's not actually a comedian. None of these late night talk show hosts would have ever made it to Carson.
No. And you again, I understand the media landscape was different when Carson was on, but you got to keep in mind that he was like 30% of NBC's income, which in today's dollars would be billions of dollars.
Oh, yeah.
He held up that network when they didn't have any hit shows in prime time.
Mm-hmm.
None of these, I don't care how much you like any of these late night shows, that is not even close to happening. Yeah, it's not even close. The late night ratings are very low. They're only high with the baby boomers who listen to late night, as we were saying, as a habit. Yeah, we'll leave on, listen to the monologue, see what he has to say. And there's a whole bunch of bullshit about Trump.
I think they're sitting there reading or playing with their iPad, and that's just background noise, I swear, Billy.
When was the last time you went to work and you discussed something that one of these guys said? And just be honest.
Nobody. Wow, come on. I really don't think anybody's actually watching.
No, but there was a time when you go to work or go to school, and Carson did some kind of routine, or he had some guest that he always treated respectfully. Say something crazy or make news. I mean, he was part of the culture, and these guys are just losers. And with that, we'll say goodbye. Thank you very much,
Bye.
Cynthia. So glad.
Thank you for listening to the Billy Dees podcast. Follow Billy Dees on X @BillyDees for updates about the program.
Do you listen to music or audiobooks on streaming devices such as Sonos or Amazon speakers? How about on your car sound system? If you use Spotify, Audible, or Amazon Music on any of these systems, you can also listen to the Billy Dees podcast the same way. Billy and his team go the extra mile to make sure our podcasts sound as good or better than anything on the radio. Listening to the Billy Dees podcast has never been easier. You literally just have to ask.